Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Samastajana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. So we saw yesterday, just as the moon is depending on the sun in the dark, the moonlight is visible, but the source, the sun, is not visible. Similarly, in the Pindanda, the sun is heart, Hrudayam. In the moon's position, inside the mind is there. The mind is shining because of the Hrudayam, but Hrudayam is not seen. So in the case of an ignorant person, he doesn't see the sun in the dark. He sees only the moon. So only in Ajnana Avastha, only we are seeing the mind and its activities, not the source. So beautiful examples were given yesterday. Now, in the case of a Jnani, what happens? In the case of a Jnani, how it happened this one? Evam Ajnasya Gatim Uktva Vijnasya Sthitim Aha. Now, having explained the state of the ignorant man, where he is busily occupied with the light of the mind, unaware of its source. But in the case of a Jnani, a beautiful example is given. What happens to Jnani? In the 17th verse of 5th chapter. Hrudi sannihito jnani Leenam Hrudaya Tejasi Ikshate Manasam Tejo Diva Bhana Vivaindavam Hrudi sannihito jnani Leenam Hrudaya Tejasi Ikshate Manasam Tejo Diva Bhana Vivaindavam. Now, in the ignorant examples we saw yesterday, with respect to so many slokas, 3-4 slokas were explained about the mind and the sun. In the case of a Jnani, what happens? He says, Jnani Hrudaya Kuhara Madhye Sannihitaha, meaning Sthitaha. Where is Jnani rooted? Jnani is seated in the heart. Where is Ajnani is seated in the mind. So Ajnani is aware of the light in the mind. Just as in the night, a man is aware of the moonlight but not aware of the sunlight. Sun and sunlight. But the Ajnani doesn't know that the moonlight is caused by the sun, the Aditya. That is not known. So when in the case of Ajnani, in the night, the moon is visible, heart or Hrudayam, the sun is not visible. Mind is understood and the heart is not understood. Self is not known. In the case of a man of wisdom Atmajnani Hrudaye Sannihita Sitaha. He is seated in the heart. So Atma Swarupa Nishtaha. So he is firmly abiding in his own heart, not in the mind. Just as ignorant man sees the moon in the night, not the sun is not visible to him. Similarly, for us, the moon is visible, understood. The mind is understood. But the source is not understood. But in the case of a jnani, he is seated in the heart, Atma Swarupa Nishtaha, the jnani, Vastu Yathartha Jnanavan Purushaha. Who is a jnani? One who had understood the real nature of the jnanam or hridayam or the self. The self which is in the mind as I is duplicate. It is not original. But this Atma Jnani knows the real I which is in the heart. Therefore, Vastu Yatharthya Jnana Yatha Artha Jnanavan Purushaha Hrudaya Tejasi Hrudaya Jyotishi Chitswarupe Leenam. What is that? This in the case of Atma Jnani, he is completely merged in Hrudaya Swarupam. He is seated in the Hrudayam, in the heart, the self. So, Hrudaya Tejashi Chitswarupe Leenam Swatma Prakasham Agram Manasam Manaha Ikshate Pashyate. Now, how does he see merged where? He sees his mind merged in his own self, not separately. In the case of Ajnani, heart is far away from the mind is visible and not the heart. But in the case of a Jnani, he is seeing his mind as Urdaya Tejase, Udaya Jyotishi, Chitswarupe, Swatma Prakashamagram, Manasam, that is Manaha, Leenam, completely merged. Ikshate. He sees his mind completely merged in the heart, in the Hrudayam. In the case of Ajnani, Hrudayam is not visible. For him, the mind is separated from the heart. So, mental activities and vrittis is aware, but he is not aware the source of the light of consciousness which is in the mind. That source is the heart. That source, heart is not realized by the ignorant man. How example is given? Because we have been studying examples of moon, the darkness, that is in the night, and the sun. Now he says, Katham Pashyati, how does he see mind merged in his self? He sees his mind completely immersed, submerged in his own heart or self. In our case, mind is not merged in the heart, in the self. Mind is running. Mind is away from the heart. Therefore, I am able to see the mind, and I think the mind is, of course, work functioning. So, I see only the mind, just as the ignorant man sees the moon but not the sun. So, I see only the mind and not the self. But in the case of a Atmajnani, the mind is merged. He sees his mind completely immersed, submerged in the heart. Example is given. How does the example is given? Diva bhanau surye sannihite aindavam chandram tejaiva. In the broad daylight, when there are no clouds and sun is extremely bright in the daytime, just as the moon in the day completely merged, overpowered by the presence of the sunlight. So moon is not visible in the daylight. Why? Because of the power of the sun. The sunlight is so powerful. Sometimes the moon and sun comes, but there you cannot see the moon because it is completely submerged, overpowered, immersed in the sunlight. So mind is not separately existing. It is completely merged in the total light of the sun. Similarly, Diva Bhanau in the sun, Bhanau, Surye, that is Sannihite, Aindavam, Chandram Iva. Te Chandram Teja Iva. How does the moon's brightness, as the light of the moon, the brightness of the moon is completely submerged in the total sunlight. The sunlight overpowers the moonlight. Because that time also the moon is reflecting the sun's rays. You cannot say when sun is fully available, moon is not functioning. I say when moonlight is there, sun is there only, no? But normally we don't see together. But there are some times where both are available in the space. At that time, the moonlight is completely submerged, immersed, drowned in the sunlight. So you cannot see separately the moonlight. It is completely overpowered, submerged. Just as in the daytime the moonlight is completely submerged or immersed in the sunlight, similarly, in the case of an awakened man, in the heart, he sees his mind completely submerged. See? Iva Aindavam Chandram Teja Iva Surya Sannidhau Chandra Darshanam Iva. In the presence of sun, we want to see the moonlight is seen as what? Completely merged in sunlight. You cannot see the moonlight separately. Hrudayastasya sahasraragata manodarshanam iti bhavaha. How does he see? One who is hrudayastasya, one who, like gruhastaha. Staha means seated, absorbed, rooted. So Gurudev used to say example, chairastaha, meaning one who is seated in the chair. Gruhastaha, one who is bound to gruha. Ashramastaha, one who is bound to ashram. Is Hridayastaha, he is there in the heart. He is firmly abiding in his own heart. So Hridayastasya, of the one who is completely stationed or abiding in one's own heart, for such a man, sahasraragata manodarshanam iti bhavaha. Just as Chandra Darshanam is seen submerged, similarly this man sees the mind's light in the cranium, in the sahasraragata Chandra Darshanam, light, sahasraragata manodarshanam, that he sees his own, though his self is understood, in the heart only, he sees is completely Sahasrara Chakra, meaning the entire mind, he sees that mind submerged in his own heart. It has no separate existence, it has no... Therefore, just as in last class we saw, in that person, such a brilliant Sahasrara, the light, Shuddha light, how does the Jnani sees his own mind, the Sahasrara light? Because there are no other thoughts, even apatati that we saw. A thought comes from somewhere, someplace, it comes and enters into our own Sahasrara Chakra. It doesn't exist. The thought has no capacity to exist. Just as like in a barren land, no seed can sprout. There are no vasanas, only the pure radiance is there. Brilliance of that light. In that light, any thought, no thought can survive. no thought can exist. But in our case, thoughts are always there, and they have their own wife, children, grandchildren, great grandchildren. They have their own family of thoughts. So much sansar is there. So that is the difference. Having said this much, because next verse also little difficult to understand. Those who have heard Vedanta Shastra, they may understand. But for some people, the word terminology is very new. It might be difficult for people to understand. Atha, now. Jnanasya manasatmakatva vyavahare lokasiddhe tasya dvairupyam niropya. Now, what is that now we have saw? We have seen twofold form of the mind. One, the mind in the ignorant man, and the mind in the jnani, awakened being, or one who had awakened to the truth or realized, or one who is stationed or established in the heart. So, the two conditions we saw yesterday and today. So, jnanasya manasatmakatva vyavahare of the jnani, how it is there. So, tasya dvairupyam niropya hrudaya manasaha sambandham arthataha pratipadayati. Now, the connection, hrudaya manasaha sambandham arthataha pratipadayati. Now, the connection between the heart and the mind is told in the next verse. Okay? Because, why I will not tell now. Let us see. So, there is a connection. What is the connection between the heart and the mind? That is now is told. Now see. We'll see the read sloka, then we'll see the meaning. Prajnanasya pravetaro Vachamartham mano viduhu Arthantu lakshyam hrudayam Hrudayana parah paraha Prajnanasya pravetaro Vachyamartham mano viduhu Arthantu lakshyam hrudayam Hrudayana paraha. Now, we always get knowledge only through the mind. Now, please pay attention. Okay? Don't sleep like me. Pay attention. See now, it says, Prajnanasya varchartham manaha iti pravettaraha viduhu. Let us see the commentary first. Slowly we will see, one by one. See, pravettaraha, vettaraha, knower. Pravettaraha, prakarshena vettaraha means completely purnataya. One who had awakened to the truth and established in the truth like Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. There cannot be any trace of a thought or duality in them. It's completely established. Pravettaraha. That is what? Atmavidaha. That is knowers of the self. prajnanasya, of the knowledge. Prajnanam, here knowledge, consciousness, knowledge. Prajnanam Brahma. So, of the knowledge, prajnanasya, that is sarvatma bhutasya brahmanaha chitswarupasya manaha sahankara vrutyatmakam jnanam vatyartham mukhyartham viduhu jananti. Now see. Now see, very important. There are two types of knowledge. One is direct knowledge, other is implied meaning. Direct meaning, second is implied meaning. The two things are there. Direct meaning is called vachyartha. Vachyartha, direct meaning. Implied meaning is lakshyartha. So, direct meaning is visible. Direct meaning is different. You may understand the direct meaning, but implied meaning you may not understand. So, tattvamasi, vachyartha, tat vachyartham, tat lakshyartham. Tvam vachyartham, tvam lakshyartham. Direct meaning and implied meaning. For example, Soyam Devadattaha, Saha Ayam Devadattaha. This example is given. That Gurudev said, that Gupta whom I met about 10 years back or 20 years back, sharabi, drunkard, and minting money through illegal means, dishonest person. So he was categorized by society like that. After 25, 30 years or even 40 years, I saw that Gupta ji in saffron clothes doing kathor tapasya in Rishikesh. Then you say you recognize Gupta ji. Oh, that Gupta ji is this Gupta ji. That Gupta ji is this Gupta ji. So, that Gupta ji and this Gupta ji are same. The moment it is said that Gupta ji and this Gupta ji are same, how come that Gupta ji who was a drunkard, dishonest, corrupt, etc., the drunkard, dishonest, corruption is equal to saint, kathor tapasya? How can these two be equal? So, direct meaning is what? That Gupta ji is this Gupta ji. But you cannot equate that two meanings are. That means direct meaning is what? Drunkard, dishonest, corrupt, etc. Implied meaning is what? The individual consciousness, the jiva inside. This means what? Saffron clothes, morning tapasya, temple arati, swadhyaya, pravachana, etc. What is the implied meaning of this? The individual. But the vachyartha may not match, will not match. But the implied meaning is the individual inside is the same. So that Gupta ji is this Gupta ji. I am not equating that Guptaji of that quality and this Guptaji of this quality. These qualities are same, individuals are same. How can not like that? For example, you are that Brahman or you are that Soham, Saha Aham. How can you are a Jiva, limited, Alpajnani, Alpashaktiman, Alpavyapi. Ishvara is Sarvagnya, Sarvagnya, Sarvashaktiman, Sarvavyapi. How come Alpajnyaha, Alpavyapi, Alpashaktiman can be equated to Sarvagnya, Sarvavyapi, Sarvashaktiman? These two can be, how can they be equal? So, direct meaning implies something. When it says something, indicates something. Implied meaning is what? The consciousness conditioned in Tat and the consciousness conditioned in the Tvam. These two are one and they are not two. They are not identical, but there is identity. Identical is different. Guptaji and Guptaji are not identical. There is an identity between that Guptaji and this Guptaji. Why I am telling all this? Because to understand this sloka. To understand this sloka, this is required. Now, on this only, this sloka is mentioned. So, direct meaning and implied meaning. For example, another example. My house is right on the sea. My house is right on the sea. So then your house must be floating. So house is right on the sea implied meaning is house is on the shore of the sea. Maybe the waves touch sometime the compound wall of my house. We have Chinmaya Tarangani in Chennai. Outside the wall only sea. On the sea it is. Meaning on the, that's it. Just bar the gate, you are that. Or Vivekananda Kendra in Kanyakumari. We consider the sun's wave. That is on the sea. Implied meaning is on the shore of the ocean. Direct meaning is it must be floating on the water. Another example, I am not giving it all those. Shono dhavati, red runs. Shona means red. Dhavati means runs. Red runs. What red runs? How can color red run? There is direct meaning here. No, red run. You cannot, there is not a meaning at all. So you have to add something. So Shono Dhavati means not Shona cannot run, meaning red color horse is running. There are so many horses in the, what do you call, stable or stubble something. In the stand, horse stand, whatever it is. Stable. So the boy, he saw the red horse running. Daddy, red is running. He did not say horse. The daddy understood. But he supplied the horse in his mind. The word horse is supplied. So there are meanings where we add some word. There are meanings, half is removed and half is bhagatyaga lakshana, jahad lakshana, ajahad lakshana, jahad ajahad lakshana. Ayo Baba, Vedanta is there. Here, two meanings are there, Vachyartha. And what is the Vachyartha meaning of consciousness? That is the question here. And what is the implied meaning of the Prajnana, knowledge? what is the direct meaning of the knowledge and what is the implied meaning of the knowledge? That is the question now. Here he says, Pravettaraha, that is Atmavidaha Prajnanasya of the knowledge, Sarvatma Bhutasya Brahmanaschit Swarupasya Manaha Sahankara Vrityatmakam Jnanam Vachyartham Mukhyartham Viduhu. Mukhyartha or Vachyartha, Mukhya Artha, the important, the direct meaning for Jnanam is taken as mind by the knowers of the truth. Direct meaning is the mind. For what? For prajnana. How is it possible? We'll explain now. Direct meaning. Implied meaning is different. Therefore, he says, Hrudayam to, where sahankara, that one mind which is along with the ego activity, ego vritti, aham vritti, there that jnanam, prajnanam is there, because mind alone is jnanam. So, therefore, Vachyartham, that is considered as a consciousness reflected in the mind, that knowledge that is taking place in the mind is called as direct meaning for the prajnanam. The consciousness in the mind or the knowledge that is taking place in the mind, because knowledge cannot take place without consciousness. So, knowledge or direct consciousness which is in the mind is taken as for direct meaning for the word prajnanam. What is implied meaning? Implied meaning is Hrudayam to Nirahankara Vritti Swarupam Manovritti Adhishtanam Kevalam Chit Swarupam Atmana Lakshyartham Viduhu iti Sheshaha. Viduhu iti Sheshaha. In the case of what is Lakshyartha then? Implied meaning. Implied meaning is Hrudayam to, that heart, which is Nirahankara Vritti Swarupam. Manaha is Sahankara Vrittyatmakam. Mind is along with ahankara, the thoughts with I thoughts plus other thoughts, idam vrittis, together is called mind. Because every idam vritti, I thought is there. So I thought and idam thought, this thought. So many thoughts are there. The ego plus other thoughts. Together is a bunch, like a grapes. They are called thought grapes. That is called mind. But it is mind also is active. It is ahankara sahitam. Hrudayam to, indeed on the contrary, Hrudayam is nirahankara vritti swarupam. There is no ahankara vritti there. And manovritti adhishtanam. But it is a support of the manovritti. It is backing the manovritti. It is supporting the manovritti. Otherwise, if Hrudayam is not there, if the sun is not there, where can the moon exist? We already seen the examples. How can the mind exist without the heart? So, therefore, Hrudayam is adhishtanam, support of the mind. And what is the nature of the Hrudayam? Kevalam chitswarupam. It is a pure consciousness. In the mind, it is a conscious, the light is projected from the heart along with so many other dust thoughts, that is kuda. All kinds of thoughts are there. They are moving, they are shining in the mind, floating in the mind, which is in Sahasrara chakra. So many thoughts. So, mind, Hrudayam is Chitswarupam, Atmana, that is Lakshyartham. What is the implied meaning of Prajnanam? Implied meaning of Prajnanam is the heart. Direct meaning of the Prajnanam is the mind. But question is, how can you say direct meaning of the mind is, the Prajnanam is mind? That he explains further. Therefore, Paraha Ishvaraha, Parama Atma, Hrudayat na Aparaha. That Supreme Atman is not different from the heart. Hrudayat anyah Hrudayam eva sa iti. Hrudayat na anyaha. It is not different from the heart. Then what is Supreme Paramatma? Hrudayameva. That heart itself is Supreme Paramatma. We saw in the last classes, that is Atman is not in the heart. Atma itself is the heart. But Atman is in the heart. Who can use it? For Ajnani Avastha, during the Ajnana Avastha, state of ignorance, we are allowed to say that the Paramatma sabke hruday mein baitha hai. When Ajnana Avastha mein, like all our state, तेरे दिल में भगवान बैठा है, हृदय में बैठा है, ये सब गलत है एक्चुअली. चलो अज्ञान अवस्था में दिस इज अलाउड, बट ज्ञानी he doesn't see different from the heart and the Paramatma. Therefore, Hrudayat na paraha, Hrudayameva saha Ishvaraha Parameshvaraha iti bhavaha. That is the meaning. So, Prajnanam, knowledge. What is the direct meaning? Where the knowledge is taking place, knowledge or Prajnanam, consciousness means what? Mind. Mind. Because mind also is dancing, functioning, etc. But what is actually implied meaning of the Prajnanam? Hrudayam. So having understood this way, atha, now explanation comes. Katham idam uchyate? How it is said? Yad prajnanasya vachyartha bhotam manah iti. How can you say the direct meaning of the Prajnanam is mind? Prajnana means consciousness or the knowledge. How can you say it is mind? It cannot be. How can you say? Iti brumaha. We shall explain. How direct meaning for the Prajnanam is the mind. Are you understanding or? God knows anyway. Are you understanding? One class teacher, तो जोक सुना देते चलो हंस लेना छोड़ दो. Class teacher asked a boy in the class, I have 3 apples with me and I give you 2 apples. How many are total? He said 6. Teacher got angry. Again I am telling you, I have 3 with me. I gave you 2. On the board she put 3 rounds with the teacher T. के नीचे 3. Student S, U, Y, otherwise. तुम्हारे 2. You know away. The children, the child, 4th class or 3rd standard or 2nd standard, I think. He was only counting on the fingers. 1, 2, 3, 6. Again said, I have 3 apples. I gave you 2 apples. How many are there? 6. She wanted to slap and very angrily coming towards student. Said, wait, you are wrong, he said. Am I wrong? How dare you say? Then, how can we do 6? Tell me now. Because I have 1 more in my back pocket. You have 3. You gave me 2. Plus 1 I have in my pocket. No, that you are not counting it. That is 6. So, sometimes teacher thinks that I have communicated. But students sometimes. And sometimes students feel that they have understood. Understood? Understood. Like in communication exercises, So many exercises. What the first person knows, and we communicate to 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and after the 10th person or 11th person, so और कुछ ही बोलेगा total. In simple 10 people cannot pass on a simple statement. correctly. That's why Vedanta Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. That's why Rutam and Satyam. Rutam is Yata Shastram. What Shastra told, as Shastra mentioned, as it is, if you can understand, as Shastra wanted us to understand, it is called Ritam. Not your interpretation. And we understand wrongly and we argue with teachers, saying that you said this. This is correctly I am understanding. You argue with the teacher. What intelligent teachers do? They keep quiet. I also keep quiet many times, people argue. Best is keep quiet. Correct. Relieve me of the pain of your existence in front of me. Go. Shastra, Gurudev said, for example, clear statement. We don't agree. Very clearly mentioned. How? I don't believe it is wrong. Hey. It's a Shastra only Gurudev is quoting. Iska praman bhi hai. So there are Vachyartham and Lakshyartham. Vachyartha meaning for Prajnanam is the mind. Direct meaning. Indirect meaning is the heart. Now the question is, how come the Prajnanasya Artham is Manaha? Direct meaning Vachyartham. Prajnanasya Vachyartham Manaha iti. How can you say Bhumaha? Now you say Padasya Yasmin Arthe Shakti Vartate Saeva Mukyartha Vachyartha Parayaha Shakyo Abhidiyate. Now, every word has a power in it. It has on its own inherent power, every word, to reveal something. Every word. So when you say Prajnanam and the mind, etc., it has its own inherent power. Every word itself is telling us something. Therefore, Prajnana pada vacha chaitanyasya katham manasi shakyata bhavet. So, everything is a proper meaning is there. An essential meaning is there. Prajnana means this. It has a correct meaning. Prajnana means consciousness. The correct meaning is there. How can you say that word is applicable to mind? How can you say the Prajnana means the mind? Here he says, so bhavati eva sahankara vrittehe manomayasya purushasya manasa eva jnatva siddhehe. That is a beautiful thing. One who is having ahankara, sahankara vrittehe manomayasya. In the mind, there are many vrittis, and all the vrittis are associated with ahankara. So, that manomaya kosham, manomaya mind, that is filled with thoughts supported by ahankara vritti, aham vritti, sahankara, along with ahankara, that mind alone, for a purusha, for a man, ignorant man, manasa eva jnatva siddhehe. For that mind which is associated with ahankara and the thoughts, that mind alone is used in gaining knowledge. For whom? For ajnani. How do we gain knowledge, tell me? Through mind only. So for me, where is prajnanam? Mind alone is involved in gaining knowledge. So the vachyartha, the prajnanam is mind. At the outset, or at the face value. It is a thing clearly seen. Amanasaha jadatvam lokasiddhim. Tata samanasaha jnatvam cha. Now, if the mind is not available, if mind is not there or functioning, it is called jadatvam only. You cannot get any knowledge. Like in deep sleep state, there is no mind. Where is the knowledge that you are gaining? You don't know that you exist. You don't know that the world exists. You don't know that Ishvara exists. Where? In deep sleep state. I don't know, no. Only after waking up, I say, Sukhena maya nidra anubhuyate. I have slept very nicely, happily, blissfully. After awakening, no. When in deep sleep state, we don't know that we exist. Because mind is not there. Mind is temporarily resolved into its own, in the heart. It merged into you. Therefore, amanasaha jadatvam lokasiddhim. It is very clearly seen in the world. If there is no mind, jadatvam. You cannot get any knowledge without mind. And samanasaha jnatvam cha. Mind is active, then you can get knowledge. Then you can gain whatever your understanding, knowledge is possible only when the mind is there. So that is jnatvam is possible, knowledge is possible only with the consciousness. If you say without consciousness in the mind, mind is capable of gaining knowledge. Without the touch of consciousness, if that is the case, then every inert object should be able to gain knowledge, So this mic, inert mic, will gain the knowledge of the chair and the book and the stand and the mic and you all and it can gain knowledge. But this mic doesn't know that it exists. This entire mic and the stand doesn't know that we all exist. So if there is no touch of consciousness in the mind becomes jada, insentient. But for Ajnani, since heart is not seen, what is seen as Jnanam is the mind. Therefore, the face value or the direct meaning of the Prajnanam is the mind only. If the mind is not there, Jadatva Prapti. If mind is there, then Jnatvam cha, then knowledge, knowing is possible. So, Tattvamasi Mahavakye api Manomayam Sahankara Purusham Adhikrutya eva upadishyate. Now, Tattvamasi Mahavakyam. To whom it is given? Tell me. That Upadesha is given to whom? To me. Who are you? To me means what? That Purusha who is conditioned by the mind, seated in the mind, that Vyakti who says Aham, 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 seated in the mind, to that Manomaya Purusham, that consciousness conditioned by the mind that is individual, to that individual entity, so-called I, alone is Tattvamasi Upadesha Vakyam is given. We don't have to give Upadesham to Suddha Atma Chaitanyam, the Parama, the self-heart. It is already that. Therefore, this Upadesham also is given only to that, because that mind is capable of gaining the knowledge. But mind has consciousness, but it is not original consciousness, it is borrowed consciousness. Borrowed from the self. If the consciousness is withdrawn or the mind is dissolved, mind cannot function. Or when you go to sleep, when you withdraw, the mind doesn't exist. Mind dissolves in you. Therefore, Tattvamasi Mahavakyam also is given to whom? Manomaya Purusha only. How can Jnanam is given to a Jada Vastu? It cannot be given. Then Manomaya Purusha mein jo prajna hai, that knowledge is there, that consciousness is there. Because of that, the knowledge is taking place. So to that alone, the Vidya, the Upadesha of Tattvamasi is given. You are that, thou art that. Upadesha is given. Instruction is given. Teaching is given. So Manasaha Ahankruti Vilasatitvat Ahankara eva manashabdena uktaha. Manasaha ahankriti vilasitatvat. Manasaha of the mind. Ahankriti. So in the mind alone, the ahankriti, ahankara rupena, mind alone takes the form of the little I. Ahankara, the individual I. Mind alone, it takes the form of this individual I. Therefore, ahankara eva manashabdena uktaha. So ahankara alone is called as mind. Ahankara alone is called as the mind. Tasmat prajnanasya ahankara eva mukyartha bhavati. Therefore, the mukyartha, the direct meaning of the word prajnanam is the mind only and not the heart or the self. The pure self, no. Okay? This is clear now? So far? Hope so. So therefore, manasaha eva mukyartha bhavati. This is the one part of the commentary is done. Okay? Now, atacha yatra mukyartha bhadena asangataha bhavati, where in some places the direct meaning is not fitting in. Where in the case of the word prajnanam, the direct meaning, when you think about it, so prajnanam, direct meaning is the mind. Okay. Now we think about it. Actually, does it fit to say the prajnanam is the mind? Does it fit there? If you ask, so where mukyartha bhadena asangatoho bhavati, so where the direct meaning is not fitting in, there, that is vachyartha, tatra vachyarthena sakshat sambandhavan lakshyartho artha grahyaha. Now, since the direct meaning is not fitting in, we must take that statement, vachyartha, direct meaning, is connected to what? So when I say that direct meaning is connected to implied meaning, mukyartha. So when there is a connection between vachyartha and which vachyartha is not fitting in properly, then when I investigate, then there is an implied meaning behind this. So to that implied meaning, the word is fitting in perfectly. Then I give up vachyartha and go to implied meaning. This is what we do normally. Vachyartha is different, lakshyartha is different. For example, one father said, बेटा जरा टाइम देख के आओ. देख के आ गया, बैठ गया, बोला नहीं. आफ्टर हाफ एन आवर पापा आस्क्ड, मैंने पूछा तुमको टाइम देख के आओ. हमारे देख के आया पापा, तब भी देख के आया. I saw then and there only, तुरंत. I am very sincerely following your instructions. You asked me to see the time, I saw the time and came back. But it is not fitting, no purpose there. Why Papa asked to see the time? Not that the son should go and see the time and come back. The implied meaning is what? The son should tell the father what is the time. Then probably the daddy will plan what is to be done next and where he has to go, etc., for time and actions. What activity he has to take up according to time. For that implied meaning. Otherwise, simply going and seeing that watch and coming back and this place and sitting is not fitting there. The purpose is different there. Purpose is not, original purpose is defeated. So when original purpose is defeated, then I add the meaning now, implied meaning. What could be the implication of the father saying me, go and see the ghadi You go and see the time and tell me, he need not tell. तो समय देख के आओ, समय देख के आओ, we say, मतलब क्या है? बोलो भी जोड़ना पड़ेगा. So समय देखने का मुख्य अर्थ लक्ष्यार्थ. मुख्य अर्थ क्या है? समय देखना. मुख्य दिखता है बाहर में, देख के आओ. Implied meaning is what? मुझे बोलो. मुझे बोलने में ही इसका सार्थकता है. इसकी सार्थकता किसमें है? मुझे बताओ. इसी में इसकी सार्थकता है. Similarly, prajnana word, when you analyze, it is not fitting in there. Why it is not fitting in? Let us see now. So, asangato bhavati vachyartha tatra vachyarthatvena sakshat sambandhavan. So, direct sambandha, that which is, so direct sambandha is what? Papa is there, he is asking the time, that means I must tell the time. So, he has something, so that in link it to the direct purpose. So, here direct purpose is there, linking is there. There lakshyartho. So, there one should grasp the implied meaning and don't stop at the direct meaning. Here, in this case, Chidatma Swarupasya Swatah Siddhasya Prajnanasya Manorupo Vachyartho Badhyate. What is the real meaning of Prajnanam? Real Prajnanam is Chidatma Rupam, the nature of pure consciousness, Chidatma. Swatah Siddhasya, it is not depending on any other source. It is Swatah Siddhaha. It is shining in its own glory. It is not depending on some other light. What light is not depending? Pure consciousness, which is in the heart. So, prajnanasya manorupa vachyartho bhajyate. To that, prajnanam means swatasiddham, swaswarupam, chidatma swarupam, prajnanam. It is the meaning. Because of this meaning, now automatically the meaning taken mind as prajnanam is denied, is rejected. Badhyate gets cancelled, gets rejected. Why rejected? Because sahankarasya manovrittehe chidrupadehatma abhimanavatvat Swatasiddhi abhavataya anyashritatvacha. This manovritti, which is having ahankara there in the mind, so along with ahankara, all the vrittis, manovrittehe, achidrupa, not chidrupa, sorry. So, tasahankarasya manovrittehe achidrupa. Achidrupa means manovritti is not chitrupa, achitrupa. Why? Mind itself is jadavastu, but it is acting as though chaitanatvam because of the borrowed consciousness, because of the reflected consciousness. So, if you see the mind, it is achitrupam. So, achidrupa dehatma abhimanavatvat. And that Achidrupa, and what is Achidrupa? Deha Atma, and the Shariram is me, body consciousness, considering body, etc., aware of the body, considering body as Atma. How can the body be Atma? How can be the Jadavastu be Atma? But we are considering it. So therefore, Abhimanavatvat, Swatasiddhi Abhavataya. And mental consciousness is not independent of its own, it is depending on the original heart. The consciousness which is there in the mind, without consciousness, knowledge cannot take place. That is the first fundamental value. Consciousness is removed from the mind, mind cannot gain the knowledge. Therefore, consciousness must be there, but the consciousness in the mind is not original consciousness. Therefore, he says, Swatasiddhi, it is not Swatasiddhi, it is not independent, originally existing on its own, depending on Anya Ashritatvacha. It is depending on other original consciousness for its own existence. Therefore, implied meaning of the prajnanam means what? Swataswarupam, Chidatma Rupam, Swatassiddhya, Siddhasya. That is not fitting here. Therefore, Tasmat Vachya Ekadeshasya Manasa Upahita Chaitanyasya Lakshyarthayataya Grahyatvam Siddham. Therefore, Upahita Chaitanya means that consciousness which is delimited, upadhi delimited, or upahita means conditioned, not exactly fully conditioned, but anyway, conditioned consciousness. Upahita Chaitanya. Not Visishta Chaitanya, but Upahita Chaitanya. So because that mind is functioning, so the thought is removed. But see, for example, but not example, the truth is, because the original consciousness is all pervading, right? So what is the distance between the original consciousness and the reflected consciousness? There cannot be any distance. Therefore, wherever there is a vritti, but the mind is there, mind mein saath saath iske piche hi that Shuddha Chaitanyam is there. So when I say prajnanam, I am implied meaning is the consciousness which is conditioned by the mind and supporting the mind, not reflecting the reflected consciousness in the thought, but that consciousness which is supporting the total mind. It is called Upahita Chaitanyam, Lakshyarthataya Grahyatvam Siddham. So that is the Lakshyartha, implied meaning. So implied meaning of prajnana means that consciousness which is substratum of the total mind, because of which in every thought this substratum consciousness reflecting and making every thought as though sentient and capable of gaining the knowledge, making the jada mind, the insentient mind active. So that Chaitanya consciousness is the implied meaning of prajnanam. Okay? Evam prajnanasya lakshyartho hridayam uchyate. Therefore, what is the lakshyartham of prajnanam? Hridayam. That's it. Iti uchyate. Here I will stop. But now commentary goes on. Vachyaika deshasya mana akya antakarana upahita chaitanyasya mana akya antakarana upahita chaitanyasya laksharte hridaye tadatmya sambandho grahyah sarvasyapi padarthasya swarupe tadatmya sambandhatvat. Tasmat vachyaika desha chit swarupameva lakshyartha bhota hridayakhyam chit swarupamiti bhavaha. Evam chito vachyartham manah lakshyartham hridayancha pratipadya tasmat hridayatna anyah para atma brahmana eva hridaya kohara madhye atma rupena spuranat iti nirnaya upadishtam. This we will see tomorrow. Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Sadgurunad Maharaj Ki Jai.